Vimes put down his coffee cup. Whoever had shot those lead balls at him had been very accurate across several hundred yards, and had got off 6 shots faster than anyone could fire an arrow. Vimes picked up the pipes. 6 little pipes, 6 shots, and you could carry a pocketful of these things. You could shoot further, faster, more accurately than anyone else with any other kind of weapon. So, a new type of weapon, much, much faster than a bow. The assassins wouldn't like that. They wouldn't like that at all. They weren't even keen on bows. The assassins preferred to kill up close. So they'd put the gun safely under lock and key. The gods alone knew how they'd come by it in the first place. And a few senior assassins would know about it. They'd pass on the secret. Beware of things like this. Elsewhere.
Down there! He went into Grope Alley!
Slow down! Slow down!
Why?
Said Detritus. It's a dead end. The 2 watchmen lumbered to a halt. Cuddy knew that he was currently the brains of the partnership, even though Detritus was presently counting, his face beaming with pride, the stones in the wall beside him. Why had they chased someone halfway across the city? Because they'd run away. No one ran away from the watch. Thieves just flashed their licenses. Unlicensed thieves had nothing to fear from the watch, since they'd saved up all their fear for the Thieves' Guild. Assassins always obeyed the letter of the law, and honest men didn't run away from the watch. Author's note. The axiom, honest men have nothing to fear from the police, is currently under review by the Axiom's Appeal Board. End author's note. Running away from the watch was downright suspicious. The origin of Grope Alley's name was fortunately lost in the celebrated mists of time, but it had come to be deserved. It had turned into a kind of tunnel as upper stories were built out and over it, leaving a few inches of sky. Cuddy peered around the corner into the gloom. Click, click. It came from deep in the darkness. Detritus?
Yeah?
Did he have any weapons?
Just a stick. 1 stick.
Only, I smell fireworks. Cuddy pulled his head back, very carefully. There had been the smell of fireworks in Hammerhawk's workshop, and Mr. Hammerhawk ended up with a big hole in his chest, and a sense of named dread, which is much more specific and terrifying than nameless dread, was stealing over Cuddy. It was similar to the feeling you get when you're playing a high-stakes game and your opponent suddenly grins, and you realize that you don't know all the rules, but you do know you'll be lucky to get out of this with, if you are very fortunate, your shirt. On the other hand, he could picture Sergeant Colin's face. We chased this man into an alley, Sarge, and then we came away. He drew his sword. Lance Constable Detritus?
Yes, Lance Constable Cuddy.
Follow me. Back to Vimes. Why? The damn thing was made of metal, wasn't it? 10 minutes in a hot crucible, and that'd be the end of the problem. Something like that, something dangerous. Why not just get rid of it? Why keep it? But that wasn't human nature, was it? Sometimes things were too fascinating to destroy. He looked at the strange metal tubes. 6 short pipes, welded together, sealed firmly at one end. There was a small hole in the top side of each of the pipes. Vimes slowly picked up one of the lumps of lead. Elsewhere. The alley twisted once or twice, but there were no other alleys or doors off it. There was one at the far end. It was larger than a normal door, and heavily constructed. Where are we? Whispered Cuddy.
Don't know,
said Detritus.
Back of the docks somewhere.
Cuddy pushed open the door with his sword.
Cuddy?
Yeah?
We walked 79 steps.
That's nice. Cold air rushed past them. Meat store, whispered Cuddy. Someone picked the lock. He slipped through, and into a high, gloomy room, as large as a temple, which in some ways it resembled. Faint light crept through the high, ice-covered windows. From rack upon rack, all the way to the ceiling, hung meat carcasses. They were semi-transparent, and so very cold, Cuddy's breath turned to crystals in the air.
"Oh my," said Detritus. "I think this is the Pork Futures warehouse in Moorpork Road."
"What?"
"Used to work here," said the troll. "Used to work everywhere. Go away, you stupid troll. You too thick,"
he added gloomily. "Is there any way out?"
"The main door is in Moorpork Street, but no one comes in here for months, till pork exists."
Author's note. Probably no other world in the multiverse has warehouses for things which only exist in potentia, but the Pork Futures warehouse in Ankh-Morpork is a product of the patricians' rules about baseless metaphors, the literal-mindedness of citizens who assume that everything must exist somewhere, and the general thinness of the fabric of reality around Ankh, which is so thin that it's as thin as a very thin thing. The net result is that trading in pork futures, a pork that doesn't exist yet, led to the building of the warehouse to store it in until it does. The extremely low temperatures are caused by the imbalance in the temporal energy flow. At least, that's what the wizards in the high-energy magic buildings say. And they've got proper pointy hats and letters after their name, so they know what they're talking about. End author's note. Cuddy shivered. "You in here!" he shouted. "It's the watch! Step out now!" A dark figure appeared from between a couple of pre-pigs.
"Now what we do?"
said Detritus. The distant figure raised what looked like a stick, holding it like a crossbow, and fired. The first shot zinged off Cuddy's helmet. A stony hand clamped onto the dwarf's head, and Detritus pushed Cuddy behind him, but then the figure was running towards them, still firing. Detritus blinked. 5 more shots, one after another, punctured his breastplate. And then the running man was through the open door, slamming it behind him. Elsewhere. "Captain Vimes?" He looked up. It was Captain Quirk of the Day Watch, with a couple of his men behind him. "Yes?" "You come with us, and give me your sword." "What?" "I think you heard me, Captain." "Look, it's me, Quirk. Sam Vimes. Don't be a fool." "I ain't a fool. I've got men with crossbows. Men! It's you that be the fool if you resist arrest." "Oh? I'm under arrest?" "Only if you don't come with us." The patrician was in the oblong office, staring out of the window. The multi-belled cacophony of 5 o'clock was just dying away. Vimes saluted. From the back, Veterinary looked like a carnivorous flamingo. "Ah, Vimes," he said, without looking around. "Come here, will you? And tell me what you see." Vimes hated guessing games, but he joined the patrician anyway. The oblong office had a view over half the city, although most of it was rooftops and towers. Vimes' imagination peopled the towers with men holding guns. The patrician would be an easy target. "What do you see out there, Captain?" "City of Ankh-Morpork, sir," said Vimes, keeping his expression carefully blank. "And does it put you in mind of anything, Captain?" Vimes scratched his head. If he was going to play games, he was going to play games. "Well, sir, when I was a kid, we owned a cow once. And one day it got sick, and it was always my job to clean out the cowshed, and—" "It reminds me of a clock," said the patrician. "Big wheels, all clicking away. The little wheels spin, and the big wheels turn, all at different speeds, you see. But the machine works, and that is the most important thing. The machine keeps going, because when the machine breaks down—" He turned suddenly, strode to his desk with his usual predatory stock, and sat down. Or again, sometimes a piece of grit might get into the wheels, throwing them off balance. One speck of grit. Veterinary looked up, and flashed Vimes a mirthless smile. "I won't have that." Vimes stared at the wall. "I believe I told you to forget about certain recent events, Captain?" "Sir." "It appears that the watch have been getting in the wheels."
"Sir."
"What am I to do with you?"
"Couldn't say, sir."
Vimes minutely examined the wall. He wished Carrot was here. The lad might be simple, but he was so simple that sometimes he saw things that the subtle missed. And he kept coming up with simple ideas that stuck in your mind. Policeman, for example. He said it to Vimes one day while they were proceeding along the Street of Small Gods. "Do you know where policeman comes from, sir?" Vimes hadn't. "Polis used to mean city," said Carrot. "That's what policeman means. A man for the city. Not many people know that. The word polite had come from polis, too. It used to mean the proper behavior from someone living in a city. Man of the city. Carrot was always throwing out stuff like that. Like copper. Vimes had believed all his life that the watch were called coppers because they carried copper badges. But no, said Carrot, it comes from the old word capere, to capture. Carrot read books in his spare time. Not well. He'd have real difficulty if you cut his index finger off, but continuously. And he wandered around Ankh-Morpork on his day off. "Captain Vimes?" Vimes blinked. "Sir?" "You have no concept of the delicate balance of the city. I'll tell you one more time. This business with the assassins and the dwarf and this clown, you are to cease involving yourself." "No, sir, I can't." "Give me your badge." Vimes looked down at his badge. He never really thought about it. It was just something he'd always had. It didn't mean anything very much. Really? One way or the other? It was just something he'd always had. "My badge?" "And your sword." Slowly, with fingers that suddenly felt like bananas, and bananas that didn't belong to him at that, Vimes undid his sword belt. "And your badge."
Not my badge."
"Why not?"
Because it's my badge."
"But you're resigning anyway when you get married."
"Right."
Their eyes met. "How much does it mean to you?" Vimes stared. He couldn't find the right words. It was just that he'd always been a man with a badge. He wasn't sure he could be one without the other. Finally, Lord Vetinari said, "Very well. I believe you're getting married at noon tomorrow." His long fingers picked up the gilt-embossed invitation from the desk. "Yes, you can keep your badge then, and have an honorable retirement. But I'm keeping the sword, and the day watch will be sent down to the yard shortly to disarm your men. I'm standing the night watch down, Captain Vimes. In due course, I might appoint another man in charge, at my leisure. Until then, you and your men can consider yourselves on leave."
"The day watch? A bunch of—"
"I'm sorry."
"Yes, sir."
"One infraction, however, and the badge is mine. Remember."